Hello everybody, my name is Lindsey Stone. I am a student at Arizona State University and I am making this video for my Women and the Body Studies class. That's WST 460. The topic of this video is gender. Does it really matter? And by that title, what I mean is does gender really make a difference for an individual? Does it change who they are because of a specific gender title that they've been given, whether that's male, female, feminine, masculine, etc.? And really, what does society's opinions and standards for different gender identities really matter? Does it make a difference? Does it not? Etc., etc. So, first I would like to introduce the references that I'm going to primarily be using, and then I'll go into some definitions, and then I'll finish up with a little bit about a couple personal things in relation to the subject of gender to kind of tie it all together. So first, the references. So the first reference that I am using for this video is an article. It's about an individual by the name of Tyler Ford, and they are an individual who is living a non-gender reality. So Tyler does not specify whether they are female or male, and that's also the reason why they are asking to be defined as they, them, their, and other neutral pronouns as such. So the name of the article is My Life Without Gender. Strangers are desperate to know what genitalia I have. And it is from Ford's perspective about being a transgender, neutral gendered individual living in the current society that we are in, where there's a lot of questions and uncertainties and prejudices about what it means to be transgender, what it means to have an alternate gender identity than what is socially acceptable, etc. So that's the first reference. The second reference is going to be primarily by an individual named Dean Spade. It's called Mutilated Gender, and it kind of goes into depth about what gender is and how it can be mutilated different ways. Mutilated is a really strong word, but I think it's used intentionally to make you think about what societally gender is defined as and what it means to be different from everyone else. So those are my two references. So now for some different definitions and terminology. So the first one is gender dysphoria. And this is a condition of feelings, a feeling that one's emotional or psychological identity as male or female is actually the opposite of what they were biologically defined as. Meaning that, like if it was in reference to myself, I would be biologically female. However, I would identify myself as biologically and mentally, emotionally male. So that is the definition of gender dysphoria. Next is going to be gender fluidity. So basically this means that an individual's gender identity can vary at random and in response to different circumstances. So in reference to myself, again, that would mean that, let's say, I woke up and I felt like I was going to dress more of a masculine sense that day, so I wore whatever it was that is societally acceptable as being male. However, being female, it is considered different, obscure, etc. Or if I woke up and decided that I was gonna wear pink lipstick and a whole different array of very feminine clothing as defined by society. Gender neutrality is when it's basically when societally specific things within society are defined as primarily one gender or another. So they're meant for the male gender or the female gender. The definition specifically says the following. Gender neutrality is the idea that policies, language, and other social institutions should avoid distinguishing roles according to people's sex or gender in order to avoid discrimination arising from the impression that there are social roles for which one gender is more suited than the other. I think that's pretty straightforward as a definition, and I think it's pretty clear about what it's trying to say. From my own point of view and my own perspective, I feel like this is, it's unfair to specify that one task or one specific job title or whatever it may be, whatever it is that's in question, is specifically for one gender or another. And this can go as far as, the job level. So right now we're experiencing that a lot of women aren't being paid equally for doing the same job at the same work ethic as their male counterparts. Personally, I think this is completely ridiculous and unfair. And if there are two individuals of separate genders who are working just as hard and doing just as well within their career, they should be paid equally. The man should not be paid more just because he has different genitalia. So then, but this can also be defined as something smaller, not quite as such a large, socially controversial topic, such as what shoes a person wears. High heels are defined as feminine, and that only women can really wear high heels. And then, a lot of loafers and more comfortable running shoes and things are either specifically defined as male, or women only wear them when the circumstances fit, such as hiking, running, etc. Honestly, I don't think it really matters. I think we've all probably seen at some point a man who is maybe a little shorter than he would have liked to have been, and so he had inserts put in his shoes, or maybe he was wearing shoes that were a little bit higher than what was traditionally thought of as a masculine shoe. And honestly, I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. He can do whatever he wants. And same with women. If I decided that I didn't want to wear high heels, I feel like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that doesn't make me any less feminine, and it doesn't make me more masculine. It just simply is what it is. So I think those are really the different definitions that I wanted to talk about, and I think ultimately I just want to start a conversation and really make people think maybe about what gender is to them, how it applies to their body, how it applies to their friends and family and society as a whole. Do you agree with the gender identities that have been placed upon us since birth? Do you think that they're right or wrong? And personally, I think it's probably a good idea for me to state which side I currently sit on, and that is that I think that it is entirely up to the individual to identify as either masculine or feminine, and it is entirely up to the individual to decide how feminine and or masculine they would like to be. When we're born and we have either female or male titles placed upon us is one thing, based on our biological sex. but it's another to continue to apply those gender titles to an individual who no longer, when they're older, defines themselves as such. So just real briefly, in conclusion, I want to talk about my daughter. Her name is Cora. She is almost 3 months old, and I just want to briefly talk about how it felt to find out that I was pregnant. And for the first 20 weeks, we didn't know if she was female or male, and a lot of people wanted to know if we were going to find out the gender, and of course we wanted to know. And I think both my husband and I kind of came to the conclusion that it didn't matter if she was female or male, or you know, what gender our child was going to be. We were going to treat them the same either way. We were going to raise them the same, you know, the same different opinions about life, and the same different you know, what is right and wrong, etc. And it wouldn't have mattered if they were male or female. Now, with that being said, I'm really happy that we had a little girl, and I also am looking forward to raising her neutrally. I want her to be able to do whatever sports that she wants. I want her to be able to be in whatever clubs she wants to be in, and I don't want a gender to be applied to that specifically because she looks a certain way, dresses a certain way, or has specific genitalia. So in closing, you know, I just want to reiterate the fact that I really want this to be a video that makes people talk or think about the different definitions that currently are defined as gender roles, either, you know, feminine, masculine, female, male, etc., as it pertains to society. And then I also just want to make one last note and say that, you know, the world that we're currently living in, the world that my daughter was born in, is still having a lot of trouble, and that's really an understatement, but having a lot of trouble with defining what is okay and what isn't in accordance to gender. And I think that it's a matter of just breaking past these comfort zones of, you know, oh, this is how it's been for so many years, why would we change this now? And battling, you know, really the different opinions of what is right and wrong when it comes to gender. And my hope is that when my daughter is old enough to finally decide, you know, how she defines herself as an individual, as a gender, etc., that society will be more accepting. All right, thank you.